joyful living wasn't reserved for the healed, the perfect, or the ones who have it all figured out? You know those guys, right? What if the real magic happens while you're still healing, hurting, or just holding it together with glitter, glue, and grace? Well, today we're diving deep in with someone who's walked through the storm. Believe me, like myself, she has done that. And she came out with a flashlight to guide the rest of us, because joyful living doesn't have to wait for someday. It starts now, honey, exactly where you are. Lindsey Glass. She's amazing, and she's the founder of Reach Out Recovery, a nonprofit powerhouse that provides tools. Why did I sound Canadian? Powerhouse. Okay, that's my Latin tongue. So let me start again. A nonprofit powerhouse that provides tools and resources for emotional health, mental wellness, and addiction recovery. She's also the co-author of the Mother Daughter Relationship Makeover, a heartfelt guide to healing one of the most complex relationships. Do I know that? Lindsay's mission is to help people find light in the dark, rebuild from brokenness, and reclaim joy even when you're not okay. Her work empowers us to heal, reconnect, and live fully on our own terms. So please welcome the beautiful and amazing Lindsey Glass. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi. I can't believe it. Hour 6 and 8
Girl,
minutes. Are you doing
girl,
okay, Grace?
girl. Thank God I'm pixelated. I'm telling you, because I'm sure the dark circles are circling.
Not at all. I'm just impressed with your vitality today.
Thank you. Thank you. I got a little stuck with the technical issues, but just keep going. That's the thing, right? Just
Yeah.
switch that on, instead of, which I was like, Spectrum. I was like, okay, no, Spectrum, no. Okay, let's just turn it into, I have a great guest next. I'm excited about them and what they're going to say. So it's all about choosing joy, right?
I mean, that's exactly the moral of the story. Things are not going to go smoothly. So what are you
Mhm.
going to do when they're not going smoothly, and how do you carry on? And I just want to say, what you were saying in the intro is so true. If you don't find some hope and some joy while you're healing, you're not going to heal. Like what's the point of healing? If you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel and have a little bit of a good time while you're getting there, it's going to be a very, very tough journey. So I think it's absolutely critical
Yes.
to find laughter and everything during the tough times.
100%. As you know, with my cancer journey, I was like that. Okay, I could be miserable or choose to have fun. And I was like, I'm going to have fun regardless. I made fun of everything that happened to me. And that is a mindset.
And it carries you through.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because let me tell you, it's not cute. It's not
No,
cute.
trust me, I know. No one even sends flowers when you go to rehab for addiction. So that isn't a pretty look either.
Yeah, we've been through some ugly things, haven't we? Yeah, they're not pretty, but that's okay.
No,
We're pretty now.
that's
We're
right.
doing, yeah, we're good. We're good. And we're alive. That's the most important thing, right?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
what does it mean to not be okay? And why is it important to admit it?
Not being okay can be different for different people.
Mm,
So I think the first thing we want to talk about is, when I'm not okay, it's generally anxiety, depression, the despair has set in, and it kind of goes into a global thing. And I think first and foremost, we all need to be able to acknowledge when we're not doing okay. And maybe not okay looks different for you.
yeah,
Maybe you're a stressed mom. Maybe you're struggling with your sobriety. Maybe you have a terrible situation at work that's plaguing you. But if something is causing you to be unhappy, anxious, stressed, if it's taking up rent in your head, if you're spending, if you know what? If it's taking your joy and you're spending more time being very unhappy and stressed about a situation or something that's going on within you, I would consider that not being okay. And the reason we have to be able to acknowledge it, One is, so a lot of people who grow up in dysfunctional homes, or they're trauma survivors. I heard you're a trauma survivor earlier. You don't really know that you grew up in trauma or in some terrible situation. You're
Yes.
out of it. So a lot of people grow up, they're in an alcoholic home. They think everybody's home is like this. And it's not until you're out of it and in recovery that people start to say, hey, it's not normal that your parents didn't pick you up. It's not normal that
Wow.
there was violence in the home.
Right.
So, first of all, we have to be able to look at our situation and go, wait a minute, I'm not okay. And maybe this isn't normal. And not
Yes.
that we have to be normal. I hate that word, but you know where I'm going with it. This isn't the way I want to be living. So, it's so important to accept it. And then it's crucial to be able to ask for help, because
Mhm.
as we all know, living ongoing in stress and anxiety is going to make you much sicker and much more unhappy.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people feel ashamed when they're struggling emotionally. Why do you think that is?
I think it goes back to the idea of, did you grow up in an environment where people said, pull up your bootstraps and you need to be okay, or don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about? I mean, I think that's changed in upcoming
Yeah.
generations, but certainly
Yes.
people of a certain age, we grew up, we're tough. Gen X, we're tough. Like,
I know. I know. I have a whole bit about my mom. She was mean. She was, she had borderline personality, and she, was in the narcissistic spectrum. And, I'm amazed how parents nowadays are like, it's okay, honey. I know you're having a hard time expressing yourself because we have
right.
company. My mom would be like, shut the hell up.
There you go.
That's it.
We didn't grow up in an environment
Yeah.
or a world. Let's just say a world. I'm not even going to make it specific to my parents. I didn't
Yeah.
grow up in a world where it was safe. Oh, you're not pixelated anymore.
I'm
Where it was
not. Oh my
safe,
God, I'm excited. Yay.
where it was safe to share my feelings. And I
Mhm.
certainly didn't want to be a burden to my family or to anyone else around me. So I think we get into a habit of pushing our feelings down and thinking that to be normal in society, we can't be saying that we have emotional problems. It's something to be embarrassed about. It's something that makes you look weak or vulnerable. So I think it's historically something that gets kind of wired into us. But I also think, depending on what culture you're from, what environment you're from, not many people are raised in an environment where it's safe to share their feelings.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And sometimes, I'm sure you grew up in the same environment where it's like, don't express yourself, just keep going. Just don't complain about things, or don't be sad and cry like a little baby. Just keep going. I don't think that's very healthy. I think that actually stays in your body, the feelings, and we talked about it earlier with other guest speakers, and you just keep it all inside, and it eventually gets you sick. I think all the trauma I went through went into my cancer tumors.
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
a
So
hundred percent. So how, Lindsay, how do you define joyful living? Because we're talking about that, right? The whole, no, whatever, 200 hours, it feels like. How do you define joyful living when life is hard?
So, joyful living when life is hard, I think it comes down to having a formula, having a toolbox of ways to help you cope. So, sometimes it starts right when I open my eyes in the morning, and, that dread of, oh, another day. And I literally turn over and I look to the dog and I start petting the dog. And
Oh,
that is 5 minutes that I start my day where I'm connecting with an animal, and a mentor told me to do that.
mhm.
So, I think if you're not doing well and you actually want to have a joyful day, you need a formula and you need a strategy. And that strategy has to include everything from a morning routine that helps you get up and into your day in a healthy way. And I can walk you through that if you want to know what it looks like, but an entire list of things that you can do for your brain health, for your emotional health, for your mental health, for your social health. And as you start to attack this checklist of things, you find joy in those moments. I think it's very difficult to say, "Oh, I'm struggling, but I'm going to go have a joyful day." That's a lot of pressure. But
Yes, it
to
is.
say, "Okay, here are 3 things that I can do today that I know are gonna make me feel better." And you have to figure out what works for you. Not everybody's an athlete and wants to go take a run with the dog and is gonna feel, I love to do that, but I know for some people the idea of doing that is tricky. So what does it look like? Is it cooking something? Is it finding a moment to watch something that's meaningful, whether it's in nature or on the computer? But
Yeah.
what are those little things that can create dopamine, a moment of satisfaction, helping others? These are
Mhm.
all the key to having a happy moment.
100%. And as a stand-up comedian, I have an advantage. We all have an advantage as stand-up comics because we are in that laughter mode a lot. Like I did a couple of shows this week, and it was just, hours and hours of laughter, and also making people laugh gives you a little high. So yeah, laughter, I think laughter is pretty much heals everything. Laughter and nature.
Let's talk about laughter for a second, because
Yes.
that was actually on my list of things for brain
Okay.
health. There is no question that laughing has a physical reaction and will make you feel better. And I can say, in the last few months that have been stressful for many reasons, things going on in the world, the fires, those few weeks in LA when we had those fires going
Oh my
on,
God.
and
Yes.
several people very close to me were being evacuated. So those were moments where I would turn on a 30-minute comedy or a Netflix special, force myself to watch comedy, because I do love comedy. And, 5 minutes in, I'm laughing. Doesn't
Yes.
matter how miserable I was going into that. It's almost like, so I'm a person in recovery. They say to people in recovery, when you're not doing great, you got to go to meetings. So I go to recovery meetings, and it's
Yes.
like, laughter is part of my recovery. So
I
whether
love
it's
that.
social media, whether it's books, whether it's online, I think having a treasure trove of funny content is absolutely critical to joyful living.
100%. Yeah, that's why on this channel, on my YouTube channel, I'm growing the stand-up comedy and sketch comedy playlists because
Yeah.
I think it's as important as this streamathon where we talk about it. We got to live it too. But yeah, definitely comedy is just, I love comedy. I'm going to die with a mic in my hand, doing comedy.
Listen, it's such a great I've learned to love teaching my books because it's that connection to other people. It's us sharing our content and what we do best. So I totally understand that. So can I share a few more of my favorite tools for your joyful living toolbox?
Totally. Go ahead. Yes, that's what we're here for. Go for it.
Okay. So, for the people out there who are struggling with what I like to call dread, and that can
Mm,
be anxiety, depression,
yeah.
you talk about ADDs, I used to get paralyzed. Before I had a morning routine, sometimes I would sit there in the morning and I wouldn't know what to do because
Ah,
there were so many things I wanted to do
yeah.
that I would actually be unable to do anything. So when I talk about having strategies and formulas, and you're talking about your color coded calendar, like I love it. That's what actually keeps us organized. So the
Yes.
things that I know work, because I've seen them work for me, I've seen them work for others. When you really want to take this stuff seriously, the anxiety, the depression, the dread, it's critical to look at your physical health. I
Absolutely.
did not realize the impact that unhealthy eating, unhealthy lifestyle, and other things were, how they were impacting my anxiety and depression. I can't
Yeah.
remember if I've shared this with you, but it was actually a cancer scare that got me to change my diet. And I love bad food. I will eat like a fourth grader.
Oh
And I
no.
ended up having to take out sugar, take out processed food, and a lot of other things. And you know what? My anxiety got better. My
A
depression
hundred
got
percent.
better.
100%. I became vegan after, and I know I'm not vegan. I'm one of those annoying people. I did it because I was like, I'm scared. And
Right?
I was hormone positive, and I know that the animal hormones have nothing to do with it. But in my head, I needed to cut out meat, animal products in general. I do cheese and milk maybe like once every blue moon, but I'm mostly whole foods, plant based. And
Right.
let me tell you, first of all, it helped my recovery from the treatment. And second of all, way less anxiety. And I think because I'm not eating animals, because when they kill the animals, when they analyze, excuse me, the animals, there's these stress hormones and the fear that is in that meat. And I think that that was causing a lot of the anxiety because after I became plant based, I'm like chill, so chill. I still here and there, I'm a Leo, I'm a fire sign. So every now and then it's like, ew. But, it's like, okay, pull back. It's like easier for me to like just be more chill, which is lovely. So I think that you're on the right track on that. And sugar gives you a high and then a down. So your body is like this, not good.
Yeah. And then a few of the other really big ones, I'm
Yes.
always shocked when people are struggling and they're not moving their bodies at all. So
Yeah.
again, there's a mind body connection. And if you are not treating your body with love, it's going to feel it. So I know when you're anxious, when you're depressed, it's so easy to want to lie on the sofa, cuddle up. You don't have the energy to do things. I remember being in therapy at incredibly difficult times, and the therapist going, just walk around the block. If that's all you can do, just walk around the block. But your
Yes.
job is to break a sweat every day. Because if you're not actually breaking a sweat every day when you're in this state of despair, you're not giving your body the different chemicals it needs to thrive, to get through this. So I think that, food, exercise, here's another one. It's so easy to isolate, to
Yes,
not
isn't
want to
it?
ask for help, to stay
Mhm.
home and want to binge watch things, binge eat, binge whatever it is. This is one of the worst things you can do for yourself, is to isolate when you are struggling with your emotional or mental health. Um, so I really think that whether it's having one person you can talk to who you feel is really safe, or a community that you can stay in touch with, or even recovery meetings, staying
Yes.
socially connected. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I lost you for a second.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's another really big one. And then, obviously I'm a sober person, but
Yes.
as much as you can reduce toxins, Um, I know it's really easy to want to feel better or have a drink, have a smoke, do whatever it is. And I'm not saying don't do that, but do it in moderation.
Yes.
Because the things that, these are chemicals, they're toxic, they might make you feel
Yeah.
better initially, but in the long run, they're going to make you feel worse. So trust me, I've been there. I know what it's like to be miserable and want to stay home and smoke and eat and watch TV. But these are the things that are only going to make us feel worse.
Yeah, because we have the feel good chemicals inside of us. So if
That's right.
we stir them up and just start them, like
Yeah.
starting your car, just
Yeah.
start those, and that's going to help a lot. And like you said, going for a walk around the block, that will actually change your mood.
It
It can
absolutely
definitely,
will.
yeah, it totally does that. And you've been through some dark moments, and what helped you stay hopeful through the darkest moments?
Whew. I always had a drive to be okay, to get better. I always really wanted to be all right. So I'm not sure why, but I really did always have that drive. I think it's critically important to have somebody you can talk to, even if it's one person who can always give you a reality check. So I did have a couple of people in my life, I still do, when times are tough, especially if you have a complicated relationship, complicated people in your family. Sometimes you really need somebody who you can call and you can say, "Hey, this just happened. What's going on? Like, am I crazy or are they crazy?" Because sometimes you need another person to say, "No, you're all right. Take a step
Right.
back. That was super weird." So I think, yeah, having a safe person that you can talk to that can set you straight, asking for help. Um, and what else?
How about community, building community?
Hugely important.
Yeah.
I don't, certainly as a person in recovery, I think if you're recovering from anything, cancer,
Oh, yeah.
alcoholism, mental illness, it's vital to have a community. You need to, one, you need people to laugh with about
Yeah.
what you've gone through. And
Yes.
two, every person I've heard you talk to today, whether it's accountability, whether it's having a coach, whether it's, you need somebody else there that can hold your hand through all of this and be a witness to what you've gone through, but also the progress you're making as things start to trend back up.
Absolutely. It was so important for me to have my dear friend, not only just taking care of me in the sense that she would take me to appointments and be there with me, but just knowing that she was there, even if she didn't do anything, just her support was so crucial because I kind of didn't tell anybody. So she was my only person with a few other people. And so it was maybe 4 or 5 people that I shared it with. So those people were my community. And I'm telling you, they got me
Yeah,
through it because when you're by yourself, you start thinking stuff and just
that's
freaking
right.
out or whatever. So I think community definitely for me it's been crucial. So we talked about this with one of the guest speakers, and but I want to ask you, how can we shift from survival mode to thriving mode?
How to shift from surviving to thriving. Well, first of all, stay really present.
Yeah,
Don't live in the past of what happened. Stay where you are, which is in the process of trying to get through it. Um, I think it's always really important to remember your progress. We're not shooting for perfection here. We're just shooting for progress, and even little baby steps need to be acknowledged. I also think, again, this is why asking for help or having a community is so important, because you really need to be able to shift your own, have things that can help you shift your perspective.
yes,
The truth is, we're very lucky to be Americans. We're very lucky to have all of the resources that we have, and it's always, I think it's mandatory to have a little bit of perspective, even in the toughest of times, because it could be worse. And when you're able to find gratitude, I think the gratitude really helps you get into that mindset of I'm okay. I'm not in that terrible place.
absolutely. And we did talk about gratitude also as an important part of being joyful, right? It changes your mindset.
Yes.
And my last question to you is, what is one loving truth that you want every listener to know about finding joy right now?
Oh my gosh, I wish I'd had a moment to think about what is
Think
one,
about
wait, say it again.
what is one loving truth you want every listener to know about finding joy right now, regardless of their state of being, if they're going through hell or they're going through hard times or they're okay?
I think you really have to hook into the things that are meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Whether you love animals, like you missed it. My dog thought I was getting ready to go out because I put some makeup on. So he
Yeah.
got all anxious and he actually like cuddled in behind me to like make sure I wasn't leaving. And I talked about petting the dog in the morning, finding those things that you can connect to. I do a lot of service in the world.
Yes.
I'm a humanitarian. And by the way, helping other people and connecting to other people when I don't feel well makes me feel better.
Absolutely.
So whatever it is that you love, food, cooking, animals, surfing, like find a way to get a moment doing the things that you love, even if it's just a second or two. And in that moment, just stay present, like let the sun hit your face.
Yeah,
And know, as was said to me during some of my toughest times, this too shall pass.
absolutely. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for your honesty and your heart. You've shown us that we don't have to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mental state, or the perfect plan to feel joy. We can build it in the middle of the mess, right? In the
That's
middle
right.
of the chaos. And thank you for reminding us that even when we're not okay, joy is still possible. And
Absolutely.
healing, it's still possible, and we're still worthy. And I know that you have a lot of resources on your website, reachoutrecovery.com. So tell us a little bit about that, so when if people need any of those resources, they can go and get them from your website.
Absolutely. We have a website called reachoutrecovery.com. It is a health and wellness website. We have over 1,600 original articles on behavioral health.
Wow.
So whether you're into narcissism or codependency or
Yeah.
relapse prevention or how to get along with your mother, we have got
Yes.
so many articles that will be wonderful for you. And you know what? It got chilly in my apartment, but I wanted to wear my cool t-shirt that my brother gave me. It's an everything but the girl t-shirt. So I
Oh,
just
that's so
wanted to acknowledge
cute.
that I'm wearing my cool everything but the girl t-shirt. It just
I
felt
love that. That's awesome. And by the way, you guys, Lindsay and I are going to we're going to continue one of the recovery podcasts that I started, but now we changed the name to Reach Out Recovery. And it's going to be about recovery from anything: narcissistic abuse, substance abuse, alcoholism, anything, and everything. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And we are premiering that. When is it?
the
On the
18th,
18th. Oh,
April
okay, April
18th.
18th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. That would be 2 p.m. Eastern time. So,
It's an Easter miracle.
yes, it is. Yeah, I can't wait. That's going to be so much fun. And we have some really cool topics for you guys. So, thank you so much, Lindsay. Hey, podcasters and content creators. Ready to take your podcast or YouTube channel to the next level? I'm Grace Fraga, and at Grammar Productions, we've got you covered. With Grammar Productions, we help you create, market, and distribute your podcast while setting you up for long-term growth. No more tech headaches. We handle the production so you can focus on what you do best. Looking to grow your YouTube channel? We'll help you maximize engagement and reach a broader audience. More views, more impact, more success. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, we take the stress out of the process. And with tools like StreamYard, your podcast will always sound and look professional. Grammar Productions, podcasting and YouTube engineered to succeed. Let's make your vision a reality. Contact us today and let's get started. Introducing your top 10 with Grace must-haves, the ultimate beanie cap and water bottle duo. Style and function rolled into one fabulous package. Whether you're chasing the sunrise or winding down at your favorite cafe, this duo is here to keep you going. Made for your on-the-go lifestyle, this water bottle keeps drinks perfectly hot or cold, while the beanie adds a touch of cozy chic to your look. From the gym to the great outdoors, these essentials are so you. Get yours today at www.thestateofgraceshop.com and use code GRACE10OFF for 10% off your order. Your new favorites are just a click away.